I am 73 years old. My name is Margaret Hayes, though most people just call me Maggie. I live alone in a small apartment on the east side of town, where the rent is cheap and the neighbors are kind. My husband passed 8 years ago. Cancer, quick and cruel. Since then, I've learned to fill my days with simple things. I knit. I walk to the market. I water the plants on my windowsill. Small routines keep the loneliness at bay. The call came on a Tuesday morning. "Mom?" My daughter's voice was bright, almost too bright. "I need a favor." I set down my tea. "Of course, dear. What is it?" "David has this conference in Singapore, 3 days, and I have back-to-back client meetings I can't reschedule." She paused. "Could you come stay with us? Help with Tommy?" Tommy, my grandson, 7 years old, with his mother's dark eyes and a smile that could melt stone. "I'd love to," I said. And I meant it, but something in her voice made my chest tighten, a strain, a hesitation she tried to hide. "You're sure it's not too much trouble?" she asked. "Never too much trouble for my family." She gave me the dates, Thursday through Sunday, 4 days. I wrote them down carefully on the notepad I keep by the phone, my handwriting shaky but legible. After we hung up, I sat for a long time looking at those dates. I was happy. Of course I was happy. But underneath the happiness was something else, a small, cold worry I couldn't name. I packed light. 2 blouses, a cardigan, my nightgown, comfortable shoes. I brought my knitting bag, too, and a jar of homemade plum jam I'd put up last summer. Linda used to love my jam when she was small. She'd eat it straight from the spoon when she thought I wasn't looking. The bus ride took 40 minutes. I watched the city change through the window. My neighborhood, with its cramped storefronts and laundromats, gave way to wider streets. Then came the suburbs, neat lawns, 2-car garages, houses that looked like they belonged in magazines. Linda had done well for herself, married a successful man, lived in a beautiful home. I was proud of her. I told myself I was only proud. But when the bus stopped at Oakmont Drive and I stepped onto the sidewalk, that cold worry returned. The house was enormous, all glass and white stone, with a perfect lawn and rose bushes trimmed into tight spheres. It looked untouched, unlived in, like a photograph instead of a home. I walked up the stone path and rang the doorbell. It chimed in 3 notes, low and expensive. "Mom!" She hugged me, but it was brief, too brief. She stepped back quickly and smoothed her blouse. She'd lost weight. Her collarbone stood out sharp against her skin. Her eyes had dark circles beneath them that makeup couldn't quite hide. "You look tired, dear," I said gently. "Just busy," she said quickly. "You know how it is. Come in, come in." The inside of the house was even colder than the outside. All white marble and chrome, sharp edges everywhere. A massive chandelier hung in the entryway, crystal drops that caught the light. My shoes squeaked on the polished floor. I felt like I was walking through a museum. "Can I get you something to drink?" "Water would be nice." She led me through the living room into a kitchen that gleamed like an operating room. Everything was stainless steel or white quartz. There wasn't a single dish in the sink, not a crumb on the counter. Linda poured water from a pitcher in the refrigerator. Her hands shook slightly as she handed me the glass. "Where's Tommy?" I asked. "Upstairs playing. I'll call him down in a minute." She glanced toward the hallway. "David should be home soon. He wanted to meet you before he leaves tomorrow. I'd only met David twice before, once at their wedding, once at Tommy's christening. Both times he'd been polite, charming even, but something about him had made me uneasy, the way his smile never quite reached his eyes. "That's kind of him," I said. Linda nodded. She opened her mouth to say something, then closed it again. She looked down at her hands. That's when I saw it, a bruise on her wrist, dark purple, almost black, the shape of fingers. "Linda." "Grandma." Tommy burst into the kitchen, all energy and joy. He crashed into my arms and I held him tight, breathing in the smell of his shampoo, kid smell, sweet and clean. "My goodness, you've grown," I said, pulling back to look at him. "You're almost as tall as your mother." "Am not," he said, grinning. "Are too." Linda watched us with a smile that didn't match her eyes. "Tommy, why don't you show Grandma to the guest room? Help her with her bag." "Okay." He grabbed my small suitcase and dragged it toward the stairs. "Come on, Grandma. Your room is really nice. It has its own bathroom and everything." I followed him up the curved staircase. Linda stayed in the kitchen. I looked back once and saw her standing by the sink, staring out the window at nothing. The guest room was beautiful. Too beautiful. White duvet, white curtains, white walls. It felt sterile, like a hotel room where no one actually lived. Tommy set my suitcase on a bench at the foot of the bed. "Do you like it?" "It's lovely," I said. "Mom said you're staying until Sunday. That's 4 whole days." "That's right. We can play games, and I can show you my robot collection. And maybe we can make cookies?" "I'd love that." He bounced on his toes. "I'm really glad you're here, Grandma." Something in his voice caught me, a relief, as if my presence meant something more than just babysitting. "I'm glad to be here too, sweetheart." Footsteps on the stairs, heavy, deliberate. "Tommy, come down here, please." Tommy's face changed. The joy drained out of it. "That's Dad. I have to go." He ran out before I could say anything. I unpacked slowly, hung my blouses in the closet, set my toiletries in the bathroom. I took my time. I wasn't ready to go downstairs yet. That cold worry had grown into something sharper. But eventually I couldn't delay any longer. I made my way back down to the living room. David stood by the fireplace, tall, well-dressed, dark suit, no tie. He had the kind of face that belonged in boardrooms, strong jaw, neat hair. Everything about him was controlled. "Mrs. Hayes." He extended his hand. "Good to see you again." I shook it. His grip was firm, practiced. "Please, call me Maggie." "Maggie." He smiled, but his eyes stayed flat. "Thank you for coming on such short notice. I know Linda appreciates it." "Family helps family," I said. "Of course." He glanced at his watch. "I have a few calls to make before dinner. Linda's ordering Chinese. I hope that's all right." "That's fine." He nodded once and walked toward a room off the hallway. A study, I guessed. The door closed with a soft click. Linda appeared from the kitchen. "I'm sorry. He's stressed about the conference." "It's fine, dear." "No, really. He's been working so hard. Big projects, important clients." She twisted her hands together. He's a good man. He provides for us. This house, Tommy's school, everything. I said nothing. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. She looked at me, and for just a moment, I saw my little girl again. The one who used to climb into my lap when she was scared. The one who trusted me to make everything right. Mom. Grandma, can we play now? He ran in, holding a small blue car. Please? Of course, sweetheart. Linda's face closed again. Whatever she'd been about to say stayed locked inside. Later, I brought down the jar of plum jam. I thought maybe we could have toast before bed. Something simple and homey. I set it on the kitchen counter. David came in for water. He saw the jar and picked it up. What's this? Homemade jam, I said. I thought Tommy might like some. Unnecessary. He set it down with a small thud. We have everything we need here. I just thought. It's very kind of you. His voice was polite, perfectly polite, but his eyes never met mine. But we have a specific meal plan for Tommy. Linda's very particular about his diet. Linda appeared in the doorway. She looked at the jam, then at David, then at me. Mom, it's sweet of you. Really, but David's right. Tommy's been having stomach issues lately. I didn't know, I said quietly. It's okay. She put the jar in the refrigerator. Maybe another time. David left without another word. Linda followed him. I stood alone in that gleaming kitchen and felt like an intruder in my own daughter's home. That night, I lay in the white bed, staring at the white ceiling. The house was too quiet, too clean, too cold. Everything about it felt wrong. I thought about that bruise on Linda's wrist, the way she flinched when David walked in, the way Tommy's smile disappeared when he heard his father's voice. Something was very wrong in this house. I could feel it in my bones. The same instinct that had kept me alive through 73 years of living. Sleep didn't come easy. When it finally did, my dreams were troubled. I saw Linda as a little girl calling for me. But when I reached for her, she disappeared into a white mist. I woke in the dark, heart pounding, and knew with absolute certainty that I couldn't leave this house until I understood what was happening here. My daughter needed me, whether she knew it or not. Morning came with pale light through white curtains. I woke early, the way old people do. My body doesn't need much sleep anymore. I dressed quietly and went downstairs. The house was silent, cold. I found the thermostat in the hallway. 68 degrees. No wonder everything felt so lifeless. In the kitchen, I made coffee. The machine was complicated, all buttons and settings. It took me 3 tries to figure it out. When the coffee finally brewed, I poured a cup and sat at the island counter. David appeared at 6:30. He wore a different suit, gray this time. He looked at me with mild surprise. "You're up early." "Old habit," I said. He poured himself coffee, black, no sugar. "I'm leaving for the airport at 7. Linda will brief you on Tommy's schedule." "All right." He has soccer practice Monday after school, piano on Wednesday, a playdate Friday afternoon. He pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. "Linda will send you the details." That's a lot for a 7-year-old. His eyes flickered to me, cold. "We believe in structure. It builds discipline. I said nothing. He took his coffee and left. Linda came down 20 minutes later. She wore yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt. Without makeup, the dark circles under her eyes looked worse. "Morning, Mom." "Good morning, dear." She poured coffee and leaned against the counter. We stood in silence for a moment. I wanted to ask about the bruise, about the weight loss, about everything, but I'd learned long ago that pushing too hard makes people close up. "Tommy loves breakfast for dinner," she said finally. "Pancakes, especially. There's mix in the pantry. I can make them from scratch. The mix is easier. I don't mind the work." She looked at me then, really looked at me. "Mom, please, just use the mix." There was something desperate in her voice. I nodded. David came in with a rolling suitcase. He kissed Linda's cheek. The gesture was mechanical, like checking a box on a list. "I'll call when I land," he said. "Okay." "Remember what we discussed?" "I remember." He glanced at me. "Thank you again for helping out." Then he was gone. The front door closed. A car engine started. Tires on pavement. Linda's shoulders sagged. She closed her eyes and took a long breath. "Linda, I need to get ready for work." She set down her coffee cup. "Tommy should be up soon. There's cereal in the pantry. He likes the one with the honey clusters." "Wait." She stopped but didn't turn around. "Are you all right?" I asked quietly. "I'm fine, Mom. Just tired." She walked away. Her footsteps faded up the stairs. I sat alone in that cold kitchen and felt the weight of everything unsaid. Tommy came down at 7:30. His hair stuck up in the back. He wore pajamas with rockets on them. "Morning, Grandma." "Good morning, sweetheart. Hungry?" "Yeah." I made him cereal and toast. He ate slowly, swinging his legs under the table. Linda came down dressed for work. Black pantsuit, heels, her hair pulled back tight. "Be good for Grandma," she said, kissing the top of Tommy's head. "I will. I'll be home by 6. She looked at me. "Call if you need anything. We'll be fine." She left. The house felt bigger without her. Tommy and I spent the morning together. We played with his robots. He had dozens of them lined up on shelves in his room, all different colors and sizes. "This one's my favorite," he said, holding up a blue robot. "His name is Captain Storm. He looks very strong." "Yeah. And this is Red Thunder, and Yellow Lightning, and Green Giant. Those are good names." He arranged them in a careful line. Blue, red, yellow, green. Then he moved them back into a different order, then back to the first order again. "Daddy likes them in this order," he said. "Blue first, then red, then yellow, then green." "Does he?" "Yeah. He says it's important." Tommy picked up the blue robot and made it fly through the air. "He says some things have to be just right, or bad stuff happens." Something cold touched my spine. "What kind of bad stuff?" Tommy shrugged. "I don't know. Just bad stuff." I watched him play. He seemed happy enough, but there was a carefulness to him, a watchfulness, like he was always checking to make sure he was doing things right. "Tommy, can I ask you something?" Okay. Do you like living here? In this house? He thought about it. I guess so. It's big, and I have lots of toys. But are you happy? He looked up at me. His eyes were so serious, too serious for a 7-year-old. I don't know, Grandma. What does happy feel like? My heart broke a little. We made lunch together, peanut butter sandwiches. I cut his into triangles the way Linda used to like them. We ate at the kitchen table. Tommy told me about school, his teacher, his friends. Normal 7-year-old talk. Then he said something strange. Daddy has a secret game. I set down my sandwich. A secret game? Yeah, he taught it to me, but I'm not supposed to tell anyone. I see. It's a memory game, with colors. He took a bite of sandwich and chewed thoughtfully. Blue, red, yellow, green. Over and over. He makes me practice. Why does he want you to remember colors? I don't know. He just says it's important, that it's our special secret. Tommy looked worried. I'm not supposed to tell. Is it okay that I told you? It's okay, sweetheart. Grandmas don't count as telling. He smiled, relieved. Okay, good. I finished my sandwich, but I couldn't taste it. My mind was working. Why would a grown man teach his son to memorize a color sequence? Why would he make it a secret? Nothing good, that's for sure. That afternoon, I walked through the house while Tommy played upstairs. I told myself I was just looking around, getting familiar with the layout. But really, I was searching. The living room was pristine. White couch, glass coffee table, and above the fireplace, a large framed photograph. My photograph, from Linda's wedding. I stood next to her in my blue dress, both of us smiling. I stared at it. Why would David insist on hanging a picture of his mother-in-law in the most prominent spot in the house? It didn't make sense. He barely tolerated me. I walked closer. The frame was heavy, expensive, and it hung perfectly level, exactly centered on the wall. That's Grandma's special spot. I turned. Tommy stood in the doorway. What do you mean, honey? Daddy says your picture has to stay right there. He checks it every night to make sure it's straight. Tommy came over and stood beside me. He says it's the most important picture in the whole house. Did he say why? Pause. No, just that it can't move, ever. I looked at the photograph again, at the wall behind it. There was nothing unusual that I could see, but my instinct said otherwise. Come on, Grandma. Let's play robots again. I followed him upstairs, but my mind stayed on that photograph. 5. Linda came home at 6:15. She looked exhausted. How was your day? I asked. Long. She kicked off her heels and rubbed her feet. How was Tommy? Good. We had a nice time together. I'm glad. She opened the refrigerator and stared at it without taking anything out. I should make dinner. I can make dinner, dear. You rest. No, I should do it. David expects... She stopped. I mean, I'm fine. But she wasn't fine. She was trembling. I made spaghetti. Simple. Easy. Tommy set the table. We ate together, the three of us. Linda picked at her food. Tommy chattered about his robots. I watched my daughter and saw a woman barely holding herself together. After dinner, I gave Tommy a bath and put him to bed. He wanted a story, so I told him one I used to tell Linda about a brave mouse who helped a lion. "Did they stay friends forever?" he asked sleepily. "They did." "That's good." His eyes drifted closed. "I like friends who stay." I kissed his forehead and turned out the light. Downstairs, I found Linda on the couch, staring at her phone. "Linda." She looked up. Her eyes were red. "We need to talk," I said gently. "Mom, please. Not tonight." "When, then?" "I don't know. Just not tonight." I sat beside her. "I see things, you know. I'm old, but I'm not blind." She started crying, quiet tears that ran down her cheeks without sound. "He's not a bad man," she whispered. He gets stressed. The business, the pressure. It's not his fault." "Linda, you don't understand. This life, this house, Tommy's school, it all costs so much." She wiped her eyes. "If I leave, I lose everything. Tommy loses everything. You'd have your freedom." "Freedom doesn't pay for food, Mom." I held her hand, the one with the bruise. She flinched, but didn't pull away. "There's something else," I said. "Something he's hiding." She went still. "What do you mean?" "I don't know yet, but I feel it." She pulled her hand away. "You're imagining things." "Am I?" She stood up. "I'm going to bed. Please don't start trouble. Please." She left me alone in the living room. I sat there for a long time, looking at my photograph above the fireplace. Blue, red, yellow, green. Captain Storm, red thunder, yellow lightning, green giant, a color sequence, a secret game, a photograph that couldn't move. The pieces were there. I just couldn't see the picture yet. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in the white bed, listening to the house settle. Around midnight, I heard footsteps, soft, careful. I got up and cracked open my door. David's study was down the hall. Light showed under the door. I heard his voice, low, angry. "I don't care what it costs. Make it happen." Silence. "No. No police. We handle this ourselves." 2 weeks. That's all the time we have. I eased my door closed and stood in the darkness, heart pounding. 2 weeks until what? I got back into bed but didn't sleep. I thought about my daughter's bruised wrist, my grandson's careful way of moving through the world, the cold, perfect house that felt like a prison. And I thought about that photograph above the fireplace, the one that couldn't move. By morning, I'd made my decision. I was going to find out what David was hiding, whatever it took. My family needed me, and this time, I wasn't going to fail them. More silence. David left for Singapore Thursday morning. I watched from the upstairs window as his car pulled away. Linda had already gone to work. The house belonged to Tommy and me now. 3 days. That's all I had. I made Tommy breakfast. scrambled eggs, and toast. He ate while reading a comic book, his legs swinging under the chair. "Tommy, would you like to go to the park today?" "Yeah!" He looked up, excited. "Can we get ice cream after?" "We'll see." "That means yes." He grinned. I smiled back. But my mind was already on what I needed to do while he was distracted. We spent the morning at the park. Tommy played on the swings while I sat on a bench, knitting. Other grandmothers sat nearby. We nodded at each other. No one spoke much, just the comfortable silence of old women watching children play. Around noon, Tommy ran over, red-faced and sweaty. "I'm hungry, Grandma." "Let's go home, then." On the way back, we stopped for ice cream. Tommy got chocolate, I got vanilla. We ate them slowly, walking through the suburban streets. All the houses looked the same. Perfect lawns, perfect hedges, perfect lives. I wondered how many secrets hid behind those perfect doors. Back at the house, I set Tommy up with a movie in the den. Something with talkin' animals. He curled up on the couch with a blanket. "I'll be in the kitchen if you need me," I said. "Okay, Grandma." I waited until he was absorbed in the movie. Then I went to the living room. The photograph hung above the fireplace. My face stared back at me, Linda's face beside mine, both of us frozen in that happy moment. I looked around. The house was quiet, except for the movie playing in the den. I reached up and lifted the frame off its hook. It was heavier than I expected. My arms shook as I lowered it to the floor. I leaned it carefully against the couch. The wall behind was smooth, white, nothing unusual at first glance. But then I saw them, faint scratches around a small square section of wall, almost invisible unless you were looking for them. I ran my fingers over the surface. It felt different, hollow, maybe. I pressed gently. Nothing happened. I pressed harder. Still nothing. I was about to give up when I noticed a tiny gap at the bottom edge, no bigger than a fingernail. My heart beat faster. "Grandma?" I jumped. Tommy stood in the doorway. "The movie's over," he said. "Can we make cookies now?" I stepped away from the wall. "Of course, sweetheart. Let me just hang this back up." "Why did you take it down?" I thought I saw a smudge on the glass. "Just cleaning." He accepted this without question. Children are trusting that way. I lifted the frame back onto its hook, made sure it was level. My hands were shaking. "Come on," I said. "Let's make those cookies." We baked chocolate chip cookies from scratch. I showed Tommy how to cream the butter and sugar, how to crack eggs without getting shell in the bowl. His small hands worked carefully, tongue between his teeth in concentration. "My mom doesn't bake," he said. "She used to, when she was your age." "Really?" "Really. She loved it. I measured out flour. We'd make cookies every Sunday after church." "Why doesn't she do it anymore?" I didn't have a good answer for that. People get busy when they grow up. That's sad. It is. We put the cookies in the oven. Tommy sat at the kitchen table, legs swinging. "Grandma, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "Sometimes I hear Daddy and Mommy fighting at night." I stopped wiping the counter. "What do they fight about?" "I don't know. Daddy talks quiet and angry, like when you're mad but don't want to yell." He picked at a crumb on the table. It scares me. Come here, honey. He came over and I hugged him. He smelled like butter and sugar. It's okay to be scared, I said, but you're safe. You know that, right? I guess. But he didn't sound convinced. The oven timer went off. I pulled out the cookies and set them on the counter to cool. Tommy ate 3 while they were still warm. He got chocolate all over his face. I watched him and thought about the wall behind that photograph, about the scratches, about David's angry phone call in the middle of the night. Something was hidden in this house, something important enough to guard carefully. And I was going to find out what it was. That evening, after Tommy was in bed, I went back to the living room. I took down the photograph again. This time I examined the wall more carefully. The gap at the bottom was real. I could see it now. A thin line marking a square panel about 8 inches on each side. I tried to pry it open with my fingernail. Nothing. I went to the kitchen and got a butter knife, slid it into the gap and applied gentle pressure. The panel moved, just a fraction, but it moved. Mom? I nearly dropped the knife. Linda stood at the bottom of the stairs in her bathrobe. What are you doing? I thought I heard something in the wall. Maybe mice. I set down the knife. Old buildings settle, you know, make noises. This house is only 5 years old. Well, maybe it's the pipes then. She looked at the photograph on the floor, at me, at the knife in my hand. Please don't mess with things, she said quietly. Please. Linda, I'm going to bed. There's leftover chicken in the fridge if you're hungry. She turned and went back upstairs. I heard her bedroom door close. I stood alone in the living room, my heart sinking. She knew I was searching, and she was afraid of what I might find. I hung the photograph back up, returned the knife to the kitchen. But I didn't go to bed, not yet. David's study was at the end of the hall. The door was closed, but unlocked. I turned the handle slowly and pushed it open. The room was dark. I found a light switch and flipped it on. A large desk dominated the space. Leather chair, computer monitor, filing cabinets along one wall, everything neat and organized. I went to the desk first, tried the drawers, locked. The filing cabinets next, also locked. I stood in the middle of the room, frustrated. Everything was locked away, protected. Then I saw the wastebasket under the desk. I knelt down and pulled it out. It was full of shredded paper, thin strips, some no wider than my finger. I picked up a handful. Most were white, meaningless fragments, but a few were colored: blue, red, yellow, green. I sorted through the basket carefully, found more colored strips. They looked like they'd been cut from larger sheets. Some had numbers on them, partial numbers, nothing that made sense. I gathered all the colored pieces and took them back to the guest room, spread them out on the white duvet. Blue strips, red strips, yellow strips, green strips. Blue, red, yellow, green. The same sequence Tommy had memorized, the same order as his robots. This wasn't a coincidence. Friday morning. Linda was already gone when I woke up. A note on the kitchen counter said she had early meetings, would be home late. Tommy and I spent the day together. We played games, read books, made lunch. Normal grandmother and grandson things. But my mind kept returning to those colored paper strips, to the panel behind the photograph, to David's midnight phone calls. That afternoon, while Tommy napped, I went to his room. I felt guilty, snooping through a child's things, but I had to know. His robots were lined up on the shelf, blue, red, yellow, green, just like he'd shown me. I checked his toy chest, his closet, under his bed. That's where I found it. A piggy bank, heavy ceramic, shaped like a smiling pig. It was sealed shut with what looked like epoxy. I picked it up and shook it gently. It didn't rattle like coins. It made a solid thud, like something hard and dense was packed inside. Not money. Something else. I set it back carefully and left the room. My hands were shaking again, not from age this time, from fear. What kind of man hides things in his son's room? What kind of man uses his child's memory as a password? David called that evening. Linda answered in the kitchen. I was in the living room, pretending to knit, but I could hear everything. Yes, everything's fine. Linda's voice was tight. Mom's been very helpful. Pause. No, she's not causing any problems. Another pause. Longer this time. David, I don't think... Yes, I understand. She lowered her voice. I leaned closer. When you get back, we need to talk. About everything. Silence. Please don't do this now, her voice cracked. Not over the phone. More silence. I love you too. She hung up. I heard her crying. Soft, broken sounds. I got up and went to the kitchen. She stood with her back to me, shoulders shaking. Linda. He wants me to send you home early, she said, without turning around. Says you're making me anxious, that it's not good for Tommy. What do you want? She turned. Her face was blotchy, eyes red. I don't know what I want anymore, Mom. I don't know anything. Yes, you do. Deep down, you know. Do I? She laughed bitterly. I thought I married a good man. I thought I built a good life. But maybe I don't know anything at all. Tell me what you're afraid of. She shook her head. I can't. Can't or won't? Both. She wiped her eyes. Please, Mom. Just let it go. For me, for Tommy, just let it go. She walked past me and up the stairs. I heard her bedroom door close. Lock. But that night I lay awake again. The house was quiet, too quiet. Around 2 a.m, I heard something, a soft mechanical beep, like a keypad being pressed. I got up and cracked open my door. Light spilled from the living room. I heard the sound of something sliding, metal on metal. I crept down the hall and peeked around the corner. The photograph was off the wall. The panel was open, and crouched in front of it was a figure in dark clothes. Not David. He was in Singapore. Someone else. I must have made a sound because the figure spun around. A man, young, wearing a ski mask. We stared at each other for 3 seconds, maybe 4. Then he ran, straight at me. I screamed. He shoved me aside. I hit the wall hard. My hip exploded with pain. He was out the front door before I could even catch my breath. Lights came on. Linda appeared at the top of the stairs. Mom! Tommy stood in his doorway crying. I slid down the wall, clutching my hip. Someone was here. In the house. What? Linda ran down the stairs. Are you okay? Did he hurt you? I'm fine. But Linda, he was at the wall, behind my photograph. She went pale. No. There's a safe there. A hidden safe. No, no, no. She ran to the living room. The photograph lay on the floor. The panel hung open. Inside was darkness. Empty darkness. Linda stood frozen, staring at it. It's gone, she whispered. It's all gone. What's gone? She didn't answer, just stood there, trembling. I pulled myself up, wincing at the pain in my hip, went to the living room, looked at the empty space behind the wall. Whatever David had been hiding, someone else knew about it, and now they had it. Linda, I said, you need to tell me everything, right now. She turned to me. Her face was white, her eyes hollow. I can't, she said. If I tell you, we're all in danger. We're already in danger. She looked at Tommy, who stood crying in the hallway, then at me, then at the empty safe in the wall. Call the police, I said. No, her voice was sharp. No police. Linda, you don't understand. If we call the police, David goes to prison. We lose everything. And the people he works with... She stopped, covered her mouth with both hands. What people? She shook her head. I stood in that cold, perfect living room and finally understood. This wasn't just about a controlling husband. This wasn't just about abuse. David was involved in something criminal, something dangerous. And my daughter knew. You have to tell me, I said quietly. All of it. Linda looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. After Tommy's asleep, she said, I'll tell you everything. But I knew, even then, that everything was already too late. We sat at the kitchen table, 3 a.m. Tommy was finally asleep again, clutched around his stuffed bear. Linda held a mug of tea she hadn't touched, her hands wrapped around it like she needed the warmth. His company is failing, she said quietly. Has been for 2 years. I waited. He took money from clients, invested it in something risky, lost almost everything. She stared at the tea. He's been moving funds around, hiding losses, paying old debts with new money. That's fraud. I know. Her voice was flat. I found out 6 months ago. Saw bank statements he'd hidden. When I confronted him, She touched her wrist. The bruise had faded, but I could still see the shadow of it. Oh, Linda. He said if I left, he'd make sure I never saw Tommy again. That he'd tell everyone I was unstable, unfit. She finally looked at me. He has lawyers, Mom. Good ones. And I have nothing. You have the truth. The truth doesn't always win. We sat in silence. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a car drove past. The safe, I said. What was in it? Hard drives. Cash. Fake passports. She took a shaky breath. He was planning to run. Take us overseas. Start over somewhere without extradition. Without telling you. He told me last week. Said we were taking a family vacation in 2 months. To Singapore first, then somewhere else. He wouldn't say where. She finally sipped the tea. I think he was going to disappear us. My blood went cold. Linda. I know how it sounds. She set down the mug. But what can I do? If I go to the police, he goes to prison. We lose the house. Tommy loses his school, his friends, everything he knows, and the people David owes money to. She trailed off. What people? I don't know names. But he's scared of them, really scared. She rubbed her eyes. Now someone's broken in and stolen everything. David's going to think I did it, or that I told someone. You didn't. He won't believe that. Then we call the police now, before he gets back. No. She stood up. I need to think. I need time. Linda. Pause. Please, Mom. Just give me until morning. Let me figure this out. She went upstairs. I heard her door close. I sat alone in the kitchen and felt the weight of it all. My daughter trapped, my grandson innocent, and a man who would do anything to save himself. I thought about those colored paper strips, about Tommy's memory game, blue, red, yellow, green. David had taught his son the combination to the safe, used a child's brain as a storage device. What kind of father does that? I didn't sleep the rest of the night. My hip ached where I'd hit the wall. I sat in the guest room watching dawn break through white curtains. By 7, I heard movement downstairs. I went down and found Linda in the kitchen, already dressed for work. You're going in? I asked. I have to. If I stay home, David will know something's wrong. She poured coffee with shaking hands. Act normal. That's what I have to do. Linda, this isn't sustainable. I know. She drank the coffee quickly, but it's all I have right now. Tommy came downstairs. He looked tired, dark circles under his eyes, like his mother's. Did the bad man come back? He asked. No, honey. He's gone. Linda knelt down and hugged him. You're safe. Grandma's here. Everything's okay. But her eyes said otherwise. She left for work. Tommy and I ate breakfast in silence. He didn't want cereal, didn't want eggs, just picked at a piece of toast. Grandma, are we in trouble? No, sweetheart. It feels like we're in trouble. I didn't know what to say to that. He was right. We were in trouble. Deep trouble. How about we watch a movie? I said. Something funny. Okay. We spent the morning on the couch. Some animated film about a penguin. Tommy laughed in places, but his heart wasn't in it. Around noon, my phone rang. Linda. Mom, don't answer the door for anyone. Anyone. Do you understand? What's wrong? David called. He's flying back early, tonight instead of Sunday. Her voice was tight. Someone told him about the break-in. How? We didn't call the police. I don't know, but he knows. And he's furious. She paused. He thinks I'm involved. He said things, Mom. Threatening things. Then we call the police right now. And tell them what? That my husband is a criminal and I've known for months? They'll say I'm complicit. They might take Tommy away. They won't. You don't know that. Her voice cracked. I can't risk it. I can't risk losing him. Linda, listen to me. I have to go. Just keep Tommy inside. Lock the doors. I'll be home as soon as I can. She hung up. I looked at Tommy, absorbed in the movie. So small, so innocent. I couldn't let David take him away. I couldn't let him disappear, this child, into some foreign country where I'd never see him again. I had to do something. But what? The afternoon dragged on. I kept checking the windows, watching for cars. My hip throbbed. My hands shook when I made Tommy lunch. Grandma, you're acting weird. I'm just tired, honey. Are you mad at my dad? I stopped cutting his sandwich. Why do you ask that? Because everyone's always mad at my dad. Mom, the people on the phone, you. He looked down. Maybe me too. Oh, Tommy. I sat beside him. You're not mad at your dad. Sometimes I am. When he yells, when he makes Mom cry. He played with his sandwich crust. Is that bad? No. It's not bad to have feelings. Dad says feelings are for weak people. I closed my eyes, took a breath. Your dad is wrong about that. Tommy looked at me with those serious eyes. I wish you could stay here forever, Grandma. Not just for visits. I wish that too, sweetheart. Would you keep us safe? Yes, I would. Even from Dad? The question hung in the air between us. I couldn't lie to him. He was too smart, too aware. Even from your dad, I said quietly. He nodded, like he'd expected that answer, like he'd known all along. Linda came home at 4. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. David lands at 9. He'll be here by 10:30. She set her purse on the counter. He wants to talk, just the two of us. I'll be here. No. He wants you gone. He was very clear about that. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I think you should pack, Mom. Maybe stay at a hotel tonight. I'm not leaving you alone with him. I don't have a choice. Yes, you do. You can choose to protect yourself, to protect Tommy. By doing what? Running? With no money, no plan, nowhere to go? She laughed bitterly. You think I haven't thought about it? Every single day I think about it. So why don't you? Because I'm scared, the words burst out of her. I'm terrified of being poor, of being alone, of failing Tommy, of David finding us, of everything. I stood and went to her, pulled her into a hug. She resisted for a moment, then collapsed against me, sobbed into my shoulder like she was 7 years old again. I'm sorry, she cried. I'm so sorry I let it get this bad. Shh. It's okay. It's not okay. None of this is okay. I held her until she stopped crying, until she pulled away and wiped her face. I don't know how to fix this, she whispered. We'll figure it out. How? I thought about the safe, the colored strips, Tommy's memory game. And I thought about something my own mother used to say. Sometimes the smallest people carry the biggest keys. Tommy, I said slowly. He memorized the code. What? The safe combination. David taught it to him as a game. Blue, red, yellow, green. Linda stared at me. Why would he do that? Backup, maybe. In case something happened and he couldn't access it himself. I grabbed her hands. Linda, Tommy knows how to open that safe. But it's empty now. The burglar took everything. Did he? I led her to the living room, to the photograph above the fireplace. Look at the safe. Really look. She crouched down, peered inside. I don't see anything. Because it's dark. Get a flashlight. She ran to the kitchen and came back with one, shined it into the safe. There, I pointed, in the corner. Something taped to the back. She reached in carefully, pulled out a small envelope, taped flat against the rear wall. The burglar had missed it in the darkness. Linda opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a USB drive. Backup files, she breathed. He always kept backups. Of what? Everything. Bank records, client information, communications. She looked at me with wide eyes. This could prove everything he's done. Then we take it to the police. No, we take it to a lawyer first. My lawyer. Get advice before we do anything. She gripped the drive tightly. This could save us, Mom. This could actually save us. For the first time in days, I saw hope in her face. We called a lawyer, Linda knew, a woman who'd helped her colleague through a divorce. She agreed to see us first thing Monday morning. Don't tell David about the drive, the lawyer said over the phone. Don't mention it at all. Act like you know nothing. What if he gets violent? Linda asked. Then you call 911 immediately. But for now, just stay calm. Buy yourself time until Monday. We hung up. Linda looked at me. I need you to take Tommy. Tonight. Take him to your place and keep him there until I call. What about you? I'll handle David. I'll tell him Mom had an emergency and took Tommy. He'll be angry, but he won't do anything if Tommy's not here. She squeezed my hand. Please. I need to know he's safe. I nodded. Okay. We packed Tommy's things quickly. Clothes, toys, his toothbrush. He was confused, but excited. A sleepover at Grandma's house? That's right. Cool. Linda hugged him tight. Too tight. Be good for Grandma. I will. I love you so much. Love you too, Mom. She whispered in my ear as we left. If I don't call by noon tomorrow, take the USB to the police. Promise me. I promise. We drove away in my old car. I watched Linda in the rearview mirror, standing alone in front of that big white house, my daughter. My brave, broken daughter. She was finally ready to fight. Tommy fell asleep in the car. I carried him into my small apartment and put him in my bed. He looked so tiny there, curled around his stuffed bear. I sat in my kitchen with a cup of tea and waited for my phone to ring. 10:30 came and went. 11. Midnight. Finally, at 12:15, my phone buzzed. A text from Linda. He's asleep. I'm okay. Call you in the morning. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. She'd survived the night. We had the evidence. We had a lawyer. For the first time in days, I felt something like hope. Tommy was safe in my home. Linda was still standing, and Monday morning, we would start to fix this. I looked around my small apartment, at my second-hand furniture and worn carpet, at the tiny kitchen where I'd made thousands of simple meals. It wasn't much, but it was honest. It was real. It was mine. And soon, it would be theirs too. My family was coming home. Tommy woke early. Sunlight streamed through my small bedroom window. He sat up and looked around, confused. "Where's Mom?" "At home, sweetheart. She'll call us soon." "Okay." He rubbed his eyes. "I'm hungry." I made pancakes from scratch. Real ones, not from a mix. Tommy ate 4, drowning them in syrup. He got it all over his face and hands. I didn't mind. "These are better than the box kind," he said. "I think so too." We washed dishes together. He stood on a stool, soap bubbles up to his elbows. My apartment was quiet. No marble floors, no cold air. Just small rooms filled with ordinary things. "Grandma, why don't you live in a big house, like us?" "Don't need one. This is enough for me. Don't you want fancy stuff?" "Not really. Fancy stuff doesn't make you happy." He thought about this while scrubbing a plate. "Dad says money makes everything better." "Your dad is wrong about a lot of things." Tommy nodded slowly. "Yeah, I think so too." Then, Linda called at 9. Her voice was steady, stronger than yesterday. "I'm okay. David left for the office an hour ago. He doesn't suspect anything." "Good. Can you meet me at the lawyer's office at 10? I gave her the address. She's squeezing us in." "We'll be there." I dressed Tommy in clean clothes. We took the bus downtown. He pressed his face against the window, watching the city go by. "I've never been on a bus before," he said. "Never?" "Nope. We always drive." "Buses are nice. You get to see more." He smiled. "Yeah, you do." The lawyer's office was in an old building with creaky floors. Nothing like David's sleek corporate world. The woman who greeted us was about Linda's age. Practical suit, kind eyes. "I'm Sarah Martinez. Come in, please." Linda was already there. She looked tired but determined. She hugged Tommy tight. "Did you sleep okay, baby?" "Yeah. Grandma made pancakes." "Good." She kissed his head. "Why don't you sit here and draw while we talk? There's paper and crayons." We went into Sarah's office. Linda handed over the USB drive. Sarah plugged it into her computer. Her eyes moved across the screen, fast, then faster. Her expression grew serious. "This is extensive," she said finally. "Bank records, email chains, wire transfers, everything documented." "Can we use it?" "Absolutely. This is evidence of embezzlement, fraud, money laundering." Sarah looked at Linda. "Your husband is going to prison. There's no question about that." Linda's hands trembled. "What happens to me?" "Did you benefit knowingly from the fraud?" "No, I didn't know until 6 months ago, and I didn't spend any of the money. I didn't even have access to most accounts. Then you should be clear legally. But you need to cooperate fully with authorities. Tell them everything you know. Pause second. Sarah leaned forward. I'll help you file for divorce immediately. Emergency custody of Tommy. Restraining order. We'll protect you. What about the people he owes money to? Once he's arrested, law enforcement will handle that. They'll want to find everyone involved. Sarah's voice was gentle. I know this is scary, but you're doing the right thing. Linda looked at me. Her eyes were wet. Mom? I'm here. She nodded, took a breath. Okay, let's do it. Sarah called the FBI. They'd been investigating David's company for months. They jumped at the chance to meet. 2 agents came to the office within an hour. A man and a woman. Professional. Calm. They listened while Linda told them everything. She spoke for 90 minutes. About the hidden money, the fake passports, the phone calls, the threats, the bruise on her wrist that had faded but still ached. I held her hand the whole time. When she finished, the female agent said, "You're very brave for coming forward." I should have done it sooner. You did it when you were ready. That's what matters. The agent looked at both of us. We'll need a few days to build the case. Can you act normal until then? Don't let him suspect? I'll try. We'll have officers nearby. If you feel unsafe at any moment, call 911. We'll come immediately. Linda nodded. The agents left with a USB drive. Sarah walked us out. Get some rest, she said. This is the hardest part. After the arrest, it gets easier. Thank you. That's what I'm here for. We went back to my apartment, the 3 of us. Linda looked drained. I need to go home tonight. If David comes back and I'm gone, he'll know something's wrong. Stay here, I said, both of you. We'll manage. No, I have to see this through. She touched my cheek. But thank you, Mom, for everything. I didn't do anything. You did everything. You saw what I couldn't see. You believed me when I couldn't believe myself. Her voice broke. You saved us. You saved yourself. I just gave you a little push. She hugged me. A real hug. Long and tight. I'm sorry I shut you out for so long, she whispered. I was so ashamed. Nothing to be ashamed of. I should have listened to you years ago, when you said something felt off about him. You loved him. That's not a crime. I was a fool. You were hopeful. That's different. She pulled back and wiped her eyes. When this is over, can we stay with you? Just for a while? As long as you need. Tommy looked up from his drawing. Really? We can live here? If you want to. Yes! He jumped up. Can I have the bedroom with the window that faces the park? Linda laughed. Actual laughter. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But she was smiling, and that was enough. Various. 3 days later, they arrested David at his office. Linda called me from the police station where she'd gone to give additional testimony. It's over, she said. He's in custody. They're charging him with everything. How do you feel? Scared, relieved, sad, everything at once. She paused. The house is being seized. All the assets. I need to pack what I can by the end of the week. We'll help you. I know. That evening, Tommy and I went to help Linda pack. The big white house looked different now. Empty. Cold. All its polish couldn't hide what it had been. A prison. We filled boxes with clothes and books and toys. Linda moved through the rooms like a ghost, touching things one last time. I won't miss it, she said. Isn't that strange? I thought I would, but I won't. It was never really yours. No, it wasn't. Tommy ran through the empty rooms, his footsteps echoing. Free. Finally free. They moved in with me the following week. My small apartment suddenly felt full, crowded, alive. Tommy slept on the pull-out couch. Linda took my room. I slept in the chair by the window. My back ached, but I didn't care. Linda found a job at an insurance company, office work, modest pay. She'd lost her fancy title and corner office, but she came home smiling. My boss is nice, she told me one evening. Everyone's nice. I forgot what that felt like. Good work environments exist. You just never had one. I know that now. Tommy started at a new school, public school. Bigger classes, less polish. But he made friends quickly, real friends. Kids who played outside and got dirty and laughed too loud. I like it here, Mom, he told Linda one night. Is that okay? That's more than okay, baby. I don't miss the old house. Neither do I. He thought for a moment. I don't miss Dad either. Is that bad? Linda pulled him close. No, that's honest. And honest is good. As well. The trial happened 8 months later. David pleaded guilty. 20 years in federal prison. Linda went to the sentencing. I stayed home with Tommy. When she came back, her eyes were red, but her face was calm. How was it? I asked. Hard. He looked at me like I'd betrayed him. She set down her purse. But I didn't betray him. He betrayed himself. And us. Did you speak? The judge asked if I wanted to. I said no. I didn't have anything to say to him. She sat on the couch. It's really over now. Yes. I thought I'd feel different, triumphant or something. But I just feel tired. That's normal. Is it? You've been holding your breath for years. Now you can finally exhale. She leaned against me. I'm glad I'm here, Mom. In this small apartment with the creaky floors and the park view, I'm actually glad. Me too. A year passed, then 2. The apartment stayed crowded, but we made it work. Linda saved money. Eventually, she found a small rental house. 3 bedrooms, a yard. Nothing fancy, but it was hers. Really hers. The day they moved in, Tommy ran through the rooms just like he'd done in the big white house. But this time he was laughing. This is perfect, Mom. You think so? Yeah, it feels like home. Linda looked at me. Will you come for dinner every Sunday? Every Sunday. And stay in the guest room sometimes? Whenever you want. She hugged me. I couldn't have done this without you. Yes, you could have. You just needed to remember you were strong. I'm still learning. We all are. Tommy is 10 now. He's growing tall. His smile comes easier. He doesn't flinch at loud noises anymore. Doesn't watch the door waiting for someone to come home angry. Linda is dating someone. A teacher. Quiet. Kind. He makes her laugh. No red flags this time. She's learned to see them. I'm taking it slow, she told me. Really slow. Good. I think I might actually be happy, Mom. Is that allowed? It's required. We were sitting in her small kitchen, sun coming through the window, coffee getting cold in our mugs. Tommy was in the yard, digging in the dirt. I used to think happiness meant having things, Linda said. The big house, the right address, the perfect life on paper. And now? Now I think happiness is just feeling safe, being yourself, not being afraid. She smiled. Took me long enough to figure that out. You figured it out. That's what matters. She reached across the table and took my hand. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself. Mothers don't give up. It's not in our nature. Still, thank you. I'm 75 now. My apartment is quiet again. Just me and the plants on the windowsill. But it doesn't feel lonely anymore. Linda calls every day. Tommy visits after school twice a week. We bake cookies. We do homework. We talk about nothing and everything. Sometimes I think about that big white house, the cold marble, the empty rooms, the secrets behind the walls. And I'm grateful. Grateful it's gone. Grateful Linda found her way out. Grateful Tommy will grow up knowing what real love looks like. The truth is, I didn't save them. They saved themselves. I just held the door open while they walked through. Last Sunday, we had dinner at Linda's house. Nothing fancy. Spaghetti and salad. Store-bought bread. But the table was full of laughter. After dinner, Tommy showed me a school project. A family tree. I put you right in the center, Grandma, because you're the most important. Your mom is the most important. You're both important. He looked at me with those serious eyes. You taught me that families don't give up on each other, even when things are bad. My throat tightened. That's right. I'm going to remember that forever. Good. I sit in my apartment now, knitting by the window, the same window where I've sat for years. The city moves below, people living their lives, fighting their battles, finding their way. My hands are older, shakier, but they still work, still create, still hold the people I love when they need holding. Linda is building a good life, slow and steady, one honest day at a time. Tommy is growing up safe, free, loved. And me? I'm just an old woman in a small apartment. Nothing special, nothing fancy. But I'm here, and that's enough. The marble floors are gone. The big house is gone. The illusion of perfection is gone. What's left is real, messy, imperfect, beautiful. My family is whole again, not because everything is fixed, but because we're finally honest. And that, I've learned, is more precious than any fortune hidden behind a wall. That's worth everything.